Let's start from maybe from the beginning. Anna, can you please not introduce yourself, but tell some story, your background, how do you felt in love with graphic design and so on?
Yes. Okay, lovely. Right, nice to see you again, Takir, and everybody else that's here. Basically, I've been involved in the creative industry, so I expanded it out a little bit further. I have always been involved in some aspect of creativity. I've worked within business, I've worked within education, lots of different settings. So originally my background, and I think this is relevant to graphic design, my original background was actually in English literature, so it was a very word-based degree that I did. Then I went into teaching, and from that got involved in running a media production centre. So I became director of that media production centre when I was fairly young, actually. And what that involved was I was doing promotion. I did graphic design because I was doing all the promotional work, all the posters, everything about promoting the business. We had to brand the business, ran studios, dark rooms, curated exhibitions, commissioned young. The very specific thing we did was we were commissioning young photographers and artists coming out of university who hadn't got their foot on the professional ladder. So that was where I sort of really touched base with graphic design specifically to start with. And it was literally from the need to brand this place, and nobody else did design. So I sort of learnt on the fly, and that's how I got involved with graphic design. I did that for 15 or so years, and then when I had children, basically I went freelance, but worked then as a graphic designer, photographer and video maker, and predominantly worked with one client, a very big government client, and did that for a while the children were younger, and then started teaching at university. I was still working freelance, so I was bringing my freelance experience into my teaching. And while I've been at the university, basically I worked within the photography and video department, then worked with game art. So it's the students who are on the course for creating, gaming. Then worked with media production. So that was students that are in radio and TV. And then for the last 9 or 10 years, I've been in graphic design. Now, Takir, the reason to give that is what I was wanting to try to emphasize is, yes, the course is called a graphic design course and students learn graphic design, but it's to understand that first and foremost, they are designers, and they will be working within the creative industries. And those creative industries, it could be TV, it could be radio, it could be gaming, it could be web design, it could be big design agencies. They're going to be working within a creative environment, and they are designers, and their job is when the client comes, they will be given a design problem, and you have to use whatever skills you've got. Some of those skills will be graphic design, but you might also be required to be an app designer, web designer, or you work with people. So I think my history, which is rather long, I think reflects in reality how young people going into business need to think about what the creative industries are like. You aren't just a graphic designer, you're a designer, a creative designer, and you work within a creative industries, and you're likely to get pulled, in lots of different directions. And it's really stimulating that, because you get the feedback all the time from different backgrounds. That's okay?
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting to hear how people, like in your case, maybe some kind of a switching from one specialty to another one. But so do you realize you have a huge experience working in this industry and teaching also? Can you explain to our applicants what is graphic design generally in like maybe in common meaning, and also what is graphic design for you?
Okay, so the common meaning of graphic design and the way people it's perceived is that you will learn a set of skills which mean that, for example, you can handle the core things of type, visuals, and text. You learn the basic principles of constructing whatever your layout is. You learn and understand hierarchy, tone of voice. So you learn core conceptual skills, but you will also learn core technical skills. So again, that would be the key Adobe programs. So if you're working as a graphic designer, you will be expected to be competent across a whole sort of range of Adobe programs, which would probably typically include the Photoshop, Illustrator, something for web design, something for animation, you know, sort of putting portfolios together. But InDesign would be a key program because that's the layout program. So it's a layout program where you bring all your elements into. So there's, in terms of the students and graphic design, okay, you learn your programs, you understand the concepts about color, hierarchy, tone of voice, and basically you can become then a graphic designer. You have the graphic design skills. What, as a graphic designer, you will tend to do is find that you then start to specialize. Once you've got that core understanding, you will tend to specialize. So you might actually become very good at web design. You use your graphic design skills and you apply them to web design. Or I know that the two tutors are really superb within product design. They trained as graphic designers. They understand the principles of graphic design. And they applied those, and they found that product design was an area, or packaging was an area where they could use those basic principles. If I can sort of say one other thing about that is, Takir, you can become a graphic designer where you learn the programs, you understand the basic principles of layout, composition, tone of voice, and you could go and work as a straight graphic designer for a company. And what they want is somebody who's very efficient with software, because they will maybe repeat a selling merchandising manual, or they'll have a web page that needs updating every 2 weeks. And really, you need to be very software efficient. And what they will want you to do is to basically drop content. That is a different level and type of graphic designer as well. So it's quite a complicated industry, because it goes from almost quite software efficient, you work fast, quick, you get the job done, you know how it works, they give you the content. And then right at the other extreme, I think the higher paid jobs, the more complex jobs, the more exciting jobs are ones where they're looking for this thing called creativity. They want a designer that has all these, you can touch point, you're flexible, you're curious, you're passionate, you touch base with lots of other creatives. And if people are wanting to get the top of graphic design, that is where they should be heading. It's to be flexible, to be curious, to touch your toe, be able to go in lots of different areas, and to say yes to just about everything, opportunities that come up, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. And you mentioned about how necessary right now for graphic designers and creativity. They need some kind of creative skills, creative way of thinking. And From another point, you have a creative industry, which is very huge one. And in which way, or in what ways, graphic design can you lead to work in this industry? I mean, in creative industry. Can you please?
In the creative industry, again, I think there's two starting routes, of say three starting routes. When the students graduate, a lot will go freelance. So they work, they have their own business, they've got a set of skills, and they will work with smaller clients, maybe local clients. So people locally who want, it might be website, it might be app, it might be posters, it might be a rebrand, and you will work with a small client, you know, on quite an individual basis. As a graphic designer, you also might go to a design agency where you'll be one of a big team, and you will have maybe responsibility for a particular specialist area of graphic design, because there'll be everybody else's, you know, somebody might do text, somebody might do audio, somebody might do web, you know, you might have a particular job in that. Or you might go and work for a big company as a graphic designer. Again, what it comes down to Keir, I know it's called graphic design, it's what is your specialist skill? Is your specialist skill web design? A graphic designer doing web design? Is it a graphic designer doing app design? Is it a graphic designer who does book design? Graphic designer who does, you know, branding? Or a graphic designer who does, I don't know, somebody just wants posters, flyers, promotional materials. It comes down to graphic design is the broad thing. And then as an individual, you will find what your strength is. And it could be animation, it could be video, but you bring your graphic design head to it. Straight graphic design, people understand it. You might do like magazine layout type editorial work. That's again, a very specific skill area, being an editorial graphic designer. So they're all lots of niche. Once you've got the broad basic, there are opportunities for graphic designers just to go into so many fields. And that's what's difficult about describing what is a graphic designer, because it can be, you can become so many things. You have a skill set that allows you to go into many areas.
Thank you. But so, can you please tell in this explain by your opinion? So, what kind of skills or our applicants needed for going or to this course, to this program? So, what skills are required for graphic designer?
Okay, so to go into this course for graphic design, so there's always, I have these other little things, is people, young people, everybody needs to understand that they're coming in as a work in progress. So when you start to study on the IYZ and you start to study at university, you're not expected to come in with, you know, I can do everything already, because you would say, why are you on the course? You know, just go out there and work. So it's to understand that when the students are coming in, you know, they've had some experience. It may be a technical experience. They may have had experience more broadly in the arts or media, but they're a work in progress. So you come on the course to learn skills, you know, your mind will be open, curiosity stimulated. That is going to happen on the course. And, you know, that's the wonderful thing. That is what the course is going to give you. What do the students need to bring to that course to get the most out of it? You need to be hardworking, because graphic design and the creative industries is very competitive. You know, the uptake on courses here is massive. It's a huge industry, but there's a lot of people wanting to get into it. So you do have to be very hardworking. You need to put the time in over and above attending the set session. So all the students here work most days when they go home. They're still working, they're still designing. In order to be successful on the course, what you need to do is to bring hard work, curiosity, and be very visually aware of what is around you, what is going on in the world, and what is going on in the design world, and what is going on in the creative industries world. So it's more important that, for example, they might look at designers that are considered, you know, top, world-class designers. Go and look at them, go and listen to these people and get a feel from listening to them. You know, they'll tell you about how they work, how they think, how they do things, how they got to where they are. And I think that's really important in terms of informing the student so they understand what they're going into. It's not business, it's not law, it's not computers. This course is a creative course and it's a really different one. So I think you need to know something about what's going on beyond going on things like Pinterest, Twitter, etc. You're not going into that business, you're going into the professional business. So you need to be aware of what's happening professionally. And I think you need to bring hard work, curiosity, and you need to be somebody that observes and notices things and can make sort of connections between things and then create something new and innovative, which actually reflects something about you. So it's like, you know, Takir, if you came on the course, on this creative course, we really want to know, we actually want to see Takir through your work, because that's your unique selling point and that's what people pay for. So it's not simple to say you need this exam, that exam, that exam. It's actually an openness, a curiosity, finding out what's going on in the industry, and then just practicing and doing things and creating things, whatever medium you use already, doesn't matter if it's audio, video, drawing, anything. It's to show that you're looking, you're observing, you're noticing, you can make connections. And if you arrived on the course as a student like that, you would be the perfect student to start that course, because then you can just gain all the skills, but you've got the right attitude and you've got the aptitude to be successful.
Thank you.
Bring your personalities, yeah.
Let's imagine for me, I'm just a new applicant, new student, just came from, I just finished my school or my college, and I just started my education on graphic design course, and I expect that it should be different from comparing to another professions. So maybe or some programs, for example, because I already finished my finance program. I know how it's strictly accounting, you're doing something, but what our graphic designers are doing on the disciplines, how it looks like. Can you please explain?
Okay, so when you come onto the course, you will be coming from, you know, sort of probably a more formal education setting. The way that the graphic design course is run and taught, and the way you'll work within it, is that it is what's called studio-based. So it's a studio-based course, and what it means is that basically it's like trying to replicate the experience that you would have once you go into the world of work and you might be working within a design agency. So there will be a nice, beautiful new lab, which will have Macs all set up for you and nice spaces to work. So you'll come in, you get set briefs So it's a bit like, you know, they might say, okay, we've got this new pair of, I don't know, sneakers, shoes, and we need a new box designing, and you're going to do the surface rebrand of the shoes. So you get your brief. You might, if you need, for example, if it's a packaging, then you might get some technical input, like how do you draw and create nets? So there'll be some sort of technical input to support the brief. And then what happens? So this is all in the day. You start with the brief, get some technical input. You might then do some exercises where you work with your peers. So just to, you know, start getting ideas going. And then you will stay in the studio for the rest of the day. And what you start to do is you start to research, you start to put down ideas, you might make tiny little prototypes, but you're basically starting to develop and iterate different ways of how can I solve this design problem. You might look at type, you might look at, you know, materials, you might look at format, you might look at cutting, all these things you might be doing. But the point is, you stay, certainly on some of the days, you would be in for a whole day, like going to work. You have a job to do, which is your brief, and you start working on it. And the difference is that instead of a teacher standing at the front and just delivering a lecture and then they walk away and they say, now you just get on with your work. The way it works is that the tutors do something called shoulder hopping. So they'll be going around, they'll talk, they'll sit down at what you've done, talk through your ideas. You can explain your ideas. They can, you know, well, have you looked at this? Or why don't you just try working on that? And you're expected to, you know, you'll be on tables with groups of people. Somebody else might have some ideas about your work. You do feedback backwards and forwards. So the studio is a very active and very dynamic place. It's not rows. It's like groups of people set up. There's easy chair sections, you know, people can move around, lots of discussions, you can go off, you can talk to tutors. And you put it really well the other day, which is like, you see these spaces on movies. That's what we're trying to replicate in the studio environment, is that it's a creative space, and how the teaching and learning happens needs to reflect, you know, this is the industry, this is how you have to think, this is how you're going to need to be working. So it's a big step up. Certainly the students in the UK who've come through school and college, the first year, a lot of it is, wow, this is different. They start to have their own voice, they become more independent, their confidence in themselves build, and they can start to lead their learning much, much better. But it's a different way of learning, and it is a step up, but it's not something to be frightened of. For me, it's like a releasing of, let's relax and let's get creative. You're passionate about this, you love doing this, right? Let's work on it. And it's a really great vibe, I think.
Yeah, thank you. You know, it reminds me, I just recently watched a movie from British director Edgar Wright. It's called, the name of the movie, Last Night in Soho.
Yes.
And there was like very similar what you're explaining about how course looks like. So like she's also working, studying creative on creative industries, some specialty, I don't remember which one, and they always have some conversation with the tutor. They're always doing something, preparing during during the lesson. She's thinking about this even at home, how she can remake it, and etc. So I think it's very interesting, especially studying such creative program. Can I ask you a question? We have a question in our chat. Good afternoon. How to develop your own creativity?
Lovely question. Who is this? Are you able to let me know who it is so I can say?
Bek Muhammad. I think it's in Russian.
Yeah, no, it is in Russian for me, so I can't. So That's a great question, and it's the sort of question that I would love, I love to hear it from a student who's about to start a course. Because I think this is one thing we talked about yesterday, is how do you develop creativity? Very complicated, but very simple. So what I would suggest you do is, in the summer, some very easy practical tasks. So I've got three like going on in my head. Here's a very simple one that you can just do these tasks. You say, right, think of two objects. So chair, egg. Okay, they're completely random. Don't think about it. Just go, what are two objects? And then what you have to go is, what could I actually design that uses egg and chair? Okay, and then my head starts to go, I think, that's interesting. Eggs, when they're flat and they're cooked, have this sort of slightly rubbery feel. So maybe I could apply that into the surface material of a chair, or maybe I've got this chair and it's going to be sold in a, like a store, and it's for the kitchen. And maybe actually, do you know what? I do the material, and I have a breakfast chair, a lunch chair, and a dinner chair. And so what I do is I design the material. So the first material on the first chair has got eggs on it. The one at lunchtime has got sausages or something. And the one for nighttime has got, I don't know, hot chocolate. That has come from just putting two objects together. And you can do it with anything. So you might go, oh, well, Anna, that was not a very good idea. But the point was, I went, here's an object, here's an object. They shouldn't go together. But what happens if I say I have to put them together and I need to make something? And then you let your head go, and whatever your head is producing, that is creativity, because you're innovating. Just doing, I mean, I did it, not brilliantly, but you are innovating by coming up with that third solution there. The other thing that you can do, I think, again, another little simple exercise that our students do before they start the course, is they have this 101, and they have a big sheet of paper which they can fold or do whatever they like, but it's got 101 sort of little sections on it. And we ask them to pick a topic, and it really doesn't matter what the topic is. It could be a VW car, it could be water, it could be, I don't know, a shop. It doesn't matter what it is, it could be a jar. But then what you have to try and do is make 101 visual and text responses to it. So it's literally like, okay, I've got water, that's my topic. I've got all my big sheet, what do I do? Maybe I go to the store and I get all the water bottles. I photograph them all. I put them in. I think, well, what happens if I look through the water bottle and I look at a piece of branding for a water company? What happens when it's distorted by water? I might, go to a lake or look in a puddle, or again, it's the same thing. You start from a point and then you go, now I've got to expand it. And you try to expand it in as many ways as you can, using as many methods. So even water, I would just take my phone, record water sounds. I'd take my phone, I'd do little shots of video footage. I'd take still photographs. I might do typography. I might design a new typeface, which is water-based. And all of those things are that creativity, because you start from a point and you just open your mind out, you think, you look, and you start recording and you're observing. And I think that's a really good exercise to do. And certainly our students, the other thing that our students do is they all have little A5 just sketchbooks, or you could do it even digitally if you want. Some of them have iPads, and when they go around, they just snap, draw, photocopy, and they're just collecting things that they observe. And I think that is the thing that stimulates creativity. Give yourself a task and just let yourself go through it. And again, I can give a couple of examples of tasks that the students do here, so we could forward those to you, Takir, if people wanted to use them. So I think that's how you stimulate creativity.
Yeah, great, thank you. I wanted to add that you sent me before links to the students, like it will be helpful to the students. I sent it here to our chat, so Mohammed, Dana, you can like copy them to your notes or somewhere, just for having a clear picture about portfolio and other stuff that will help you during your studying in graphic design programs. And also I wanted to add to your what you were saying about how to say improving your creativity. It's maybe my personal moment, but for example, when we need to create something or develop, I just put my earphones, closing my eyes, put in some music, and what images I see, they helping me to maybe to create something. And also, like my tutor on my MBA courses taught me, for example, especially if I think for guys who are taking who's studying on graphic design, you will have some special tasks. I think from someone develop me some logo, make me some art and like that. Generally, what taught us that what difference between the usual employee and the one who is genius, who's not just doing this task, what was given to you, but you are thinking what is behind this task, what's the meaning. Maybe you can improve something, develop, make it better, that even who gave you this task imagine in his head. So
yeah, I think that's brilliant, Takir. You could be on the creative course, I think. Because what you've said is it's like when I was listening to you, the thing that we say to the students is, what was the design decision? It could be any, like, what was the design decision for this? Okay, what was the design decision and what was the impact? So why did you do it? And what was the result? And, what was the impact? Did it work? And we can look all around us. Everything has been designed down to a paperclip. And it's that, it's like, why is it like that? And you've put your finger on the second one. I was trying to work out myself how to articulate that. The ones that are going to be really successful and great creatives are the ones that do exactly what you do, which they go, okay, that's the standard answer. Now, what can I bring to it that's different? How can I take that in a different way? Because if you innovate and if you manage to, look at something from a different direction, or you deliver it in a different way, you build audience. If you build audience, you're building market. If you're building market, you're building profits. And actually, it's about USP. What is the thing that is different between what you came up with, between the thing that everybody else has been doing in that way for a long time? And it can be tiny things. I mean, like I was talking to you about this great picnic which you're organising for the students. I'm going, that Takir is something I would pay for, as if I was employing somebody who's creative, because to me, you've taken a basic idea. Yeah, we can do an event, and you've got, do you know what? We'll do this like this. And I'm going, that's exciting. So that's what I pay for if I'm an employer, is that special bit. Yeah. So I think you articulated it brilliantly today.
Thank you, Anna. I'm sorry, I want to ask next question because I saw this question also frequently yesterday on our Instagram broadcast. In which programs students work generally during the study in graphic design?
Do you mean the software programs?
Yeah, I said, yeah, the software programs.
Yes, software programs. So basically it will be, if you look at the broad Adobe suite of programs, you will be utilizing all the key programs, which will be the layout programs, which will be like the InDesign, illustration, which is, you know, if you have some illustration bias, you'd work with that. If you end up working in some animation, you'll use the animation, you use the web design. But the core, I think, will be InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator as the starting core basis. And then what you will find is, as if you have special interests, or say you're doing app design, then what you will do is you'll do that piece of software. But it's, if you basically understand, it will be the Adobe package that you'll be working within. So you can see, you know, you can see all the video, and you can go and, you know, Premiere Pro's in there if you're going to work with video. So that in the first year, you'll start from the core basic packages of Adobe software. As you progress through the 1, 2, 3, 4 years, then as you progress along, for example, you might start using 3D rendering programs, but that would be further down the line. It would be the Adobe package.
Great. So I can say for myself, I'm practically a graphic designer because I can use Photoshop, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Illustrator. So
see, I knew it, Takir.
But I think
Yeah.
it will be some basics here, because probably in animation they will use, I think, today's Max, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, the thing about the software, again, I don't know if it's because you might be surprised by this, Takir, but software is, I find software very, it's straightforward. It's just a tool. For me, you just get taught it, you learn it. And a bit like you, once you've learned one, you transfer the skill to another one. So for me, that's not the complicated bit. And in a sense, it's not the bit we even really think about when we're looking at students coming in, because those are sort of core skills. You were taught those skills. You develop skills over 4 years. That's the easy bit, I think, of being a graphic designer. So don't worry if you don't have those skills. You will be taught as you do your briefs. They're not assuming you have any of those technical skills. It's like, come in, here's the brief. What skills do you need to learn in software? What skills do you need outside of software? Okay, now we'll teach those to you so you can apply them to the work that you need to do. So, yeah.
So, in my opinion, from what you're saying, the graphic designer is like way of thinking, and Photoshop, all the software, just the tools that you're using for implementing your ideas. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. So I was
Okay.
looking at the next question coming in.
Here I have also a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Another one. Can you please explain, because here in Kazakhstan we have IYZ for the students, because we have graduates of school here finishing only 11 years. So in our IYZ, they have like some general subjects, but also they will have introduction to graphic design. So can you please explain what it will look like, or what is introduction to graphic design?
Okay, so in the first term, this is your tutors, the two tutors have been appointed, and they will send the detailed stuff out over the summer. So the students will be getting detailed information. But in the first term, what you will do is be given a series of fairly short briefs. So over 2 or 3 weeks, you'll be given, in the whole of the first term, you'll be given a series of briefs. And what those briefs will do is touch on 2D and 3D and lots of different skill areas. So, you know, you might do some work in, I don't know, drawing. Then you might do some work in photography and video. Then you might do some work in typography. So the first term is a series of small briefs with exercises. And what that first term tries to do is to touch base on key skills so that you've worked with, so we know that you've had some work with typography. We know that you've had some work with, you know, some kind of drawing skill. We know that you've had some work with, you know, in Photoshop with photography. So that's the first term. And then when you get to the second term, and you'll get all the things like, you know, color theory and, you know, design vocabulary. So all of that background information about basic stuff about composition, working with color, working with light, that'll all be in there as well. And the idea is that's the introduction to graphic design. So it's trying to show you and touch base with all the different aspects that make up graphic design, and give you an understanding of things like, you know, how you work with hierarchy, if you're working with type, how you work with leading and kerning, you know, and all the specific aspects related to typography. In the second term, so it'd be after Christmas, then you get some broader, bigger projects. And certainly the first project is sort of a build towards you deciding what your big final brief is. So the final brief, the students work with the tutor to construct a design brief that they're going to work on, and it will be in their specialist area. So it's more led in the introduction with exercises, technical and conceptual, and, you know, do that. And then when you get after Christmas, there's this first big project when you are given the experience of working on a bigger project. So this is what it was like if you get a bigger brief. This is how you would approach a bigger brief. These are the steps you need to go through in order to work on a bigger brief, like you would in industry. So they give you one to get to try out, go through the process, understand it. And then the final bit is you create a brief, and you write the brief, and you develop the brief, and you deliver it, as a finished. So there's a big final exhibition at the end of everybody's work from those two big briefs. So it's a sort of like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Another question. This girl wrote its key question, you know. What equipment do I need to bring with me? I have a computer, but not a laptop, so I can bring it with me to university. Is it okay? Do I need to download any programs beforehand? For example, Photoshop or any others?
Yeah. Okay. Really great question. And again, I'll just say to Kira again, is so people are very clear. The two lecturers that are going to be delivering the course are in place. They're coming in over the summer. They will start to communicate very directly about, you will need this. This is what's going to happen. So that very detailed information will come out to the students in the next 2 months before they start. So the studio space is going to be equipped with desktop Macs, which will have the basic core Adobe software on it. So the key ones that I already know are already going to be on will be InDesign, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, what else did we say? InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator. So those core programs are going to be on the Macs, which are desktop Macs. They're in the studio, and the students will have access to them in the times that you're being taught directly, but also the rest of the time when the lab's not used, then students are allowed to use that kit then as well. To support that, when you go home, you know, students just carry on working. They all tend to live in these houses together, so they're all like buzzing when they go home. If you have your own computer, and it doesn't really matter if it's a PC or a Mac, and you're coming to university, so you're going to be living away from home, I would suggest, yes, bring your computer with you, have it at home, and what you would, you know, ideally, what you need to do is to have the software that's in the lab at uni to have that on your computer at home. So it doesn't matter if it's, some people really worry, it's like, it's a PC, it's not a Mac. That doesn't matter. It's just get that, you know, even if you started with InDesign and Photoshop, because it is an expense. So even if you just said, okay, I think I can get those two. If you get those onto your Mac or your PC and have that at home, that means you can just carry on working and developing. If people have got, you know, their own sort of Mac laptops, or they've got drawing, you know, some of the students have drawing pads already, then bring those into the lab, because, you know, you can work at home on your laptop, you can bring your laptop in. It's sort of, if you've got the kit, bring it with you. If you've not got the kit, you know, you've got it in the studio, you can work there. And, you know, if you've got some sort of computer at home, that really helps. Besides the software and the computer, again, the students that are at DMU, they will all have an A3 sketchbook, which is spiral bound. So do you know, like they're with the metal bind?
Yeah,
I don't know with the metal binding. And the reason for that is because you're going to be doing lots of like work. They tend to get fatter and fatter and fatter. So they tend to have a sketchbook as well, which would be A3, and just a very basic set of just pencils, you know, a couple of ink pens, but I wouldn't get too much. Just if they've got stuff already, get the sketchbook, bring some pencils, a couple of pens they can work with, or a couple of paint things that they can work with, because Takir, they're going to be working on screen, but they're going to be working analog as well, and combining the two. So these are, it isn't like that's old school, we don't do it. That's new school, we're only going to be on screen. What it is, you're integrating physical, and then you combine with digital. So sketchbook A3, basic set of pencils, very simple, some sort of paint or ink to work with. If you've got a laptop, excellent, but it's the software's the you know, a couple of programs. I think also to clear, because again, all of it's, you know, brand new and been setting up. I think the university is buying in some cameras as well that can shoot video and still. So again, students don't need to buy their own, but if they've got them, bring them. They've all got great phones. You know, the phones are great tools. So I wouldn't go out and spend a lot of money, is what would be my advice to the students. I would get yourself to the course, and then if you think, do you know what, I really need to get this, then, you know, you get it at some point. But I wouldn't really expend lots of money on other kit, like buying cameras and stuff, until you sort of got a feel of what the course can provide for you. I wouldn't rush, I think is my.
Yep, because I'm here in Almaty, from my side, I can say that university is now right now preparing all necessary equipment, also hardware and software for studying. And so, guys, please, if you don't have some required equipment, I mean, from maybe your laptop or notebook is not so don't have great characteristics, it's okay, because you have everything in the university.
Yeah.
But by what are you saying, I'm wondering, in your experience as a teacher, did you had students who maybe had zero like practical skills in drawing, but they work brilliantly only in the software?
Okay. Yes. That's
or maybe very low skills in...
It's not a problem, because I think it's people's perception of what does it mean, like you haven't got brilliant drawing skills. I know this sounds really, if you are visually creative, okay, if you're a computer operator and basically just work in programs, that's fine. You can do this sort of basic, put things in place. But You don't have to have great or any drawing skills, to be honest, Takir, because let's say you're doing a branding, you're branding something, you can make marks. You don't even have to draw. You create visual symbols. So, and you might do that straight into the computer. But what, again, we tend to encourage is that we have the combination, that students do stuff physically, they do make marks, even the worst drawers in the world can still draw in their own way. And who knows, it might become a trendy way, we don't know. But you will, again, I can only emphasize that the great graphic designers all work physically and digitally. This is a very generalized statement, Takir. If you have a graphic designer who never comes off the computer, they are always restricted. I think ultimately the software and the screen is a particular restriction when it gets to a certain level of creativity. I think you need that flexibility to be able to come off and get back on. And you have the equal problem that if a student is very physically based and they struggle with the digital, that's a limitation as well. So it's really that you need this move between, but I wouldn't worry. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's about a different type of creativity. It's about thinking, finding solutions. I can't draw, Takir, at all. I use photography. So what I use is photography. I found a different way to express. So if I need to illustrate, I work with photography, or I pay something, I get one of my friends to do it for me. It's you exchange skills. So I wouldn't worry about it. You can practice, get your sketchbook out, have a go.
Thank you. You know why I'm asking? Because, for example, I can work in Photoshop where I can express my ideas there, but I cannot draw nothing by my hand.
I can't either. And to me, it doesn't matter because you find other ways. I don't like to draw. I don't want to draw. It's why I became a photographer and a video, because it's not, and software, because it's not my medium. But I still know that I can take photographs and I can work with photographs in Photoshop, and that's my USP. I don't draw. I work with photography within graphic design. And that's what people pay me for, that particular type of way of working. So yeah, but it's a good skill.
Yeah. Thank you. So generally, I won't repeat all questions because most of them like the same, or you already answered on these questions. So to our viewers, Agbobek, Bek Muhammad and Dan, if you have any additional questions that we are not covered maybe in during our discussion, you can maybe I can allow everyone right now to put your voice on, so maybe you can speak with Anna and she can answer.
Yeah, there was a question there which was about assessment, I noticed, Takir.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Which assessments we will complete in the end of every terms?
Yeah. Okay, so you have these two terms. So in the first term, you'll have lots of little briefs. So there might be 2 or 3 weeks. What will happen is when you've done a 2-week or 3-week, you'll have what's called a formative. So you get a feedback session with tutors, and they'll look at what you've produced. They'll give you feedback. You go to the next project, you do it, you'll get a sort of mini feedback. And then what happens at the end, you put all the work together, and then that's when the bigger assessment happens. So it's basically all the work you do in the term, it's all gathered together and it's put in. So you don't do something separately for assessment, it's not an exam. It's you work in your term, you gather your portfolio of work together and you hand that in. So as long as you work hard, and attend and engage and keep producing, you're doing all the work in the term. You don't have to do anything, particularly too much at the end is my feeling.
Yes, thank you. I want to remind you one more time, guys. You can turn on your microphone and ask questions directly to Anna.
Hello, hello. Hey.
Hi.
Hello, my name is Bek Mohammed, and I want to, and I'm student of Team UK, and I want to ask the question about what projects we will do. For example, animation or creating design of some programs, or
Yeah.
what should we do in internships?
Okay. In the first term, what happens is you will get a series of briefs. So, and each of those briefs will target a different skill area. So it might be something like animation, or it might be packaging, or it might be, you know, a whole range of graphic design areas. So you'll be set the brief. With that, there'll be some sort of technical learning. It might be in software, it might be outside of software. And as well, you'll be introduced to sort of broader concepts about, you know, layout and design. So yeah.
What about last term?
And in the last term, so again, the two tutors, they will create the sort of two bigger projects. One you self-determine, which is the second one, and the one before that, it will be you'll tend to get a fairly broad brief. And the reason they'll keep it quite broad is because what they want you to start to do is to target the area of graphic design that you think you sort of like specializing in. So say you go through everything, you think, do you know what? I'd really like to do something that's in app design and I want it to be branding. You'll have a broad idea, and you'll go, well, I'm going to do that topic, but you know what? I'm going to try and do it through apps this time. But they guide you how to develop a brief, how to work through a bigger project, and how to come to a final outcome. So it's sort of guided. And then the last one, it's, okay, you write your brief, you decide what the aims and objectives are, you decide what your measures of fitness for purpose are, you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do it with this method. So it's like little guided, you know, you'll be very guided in the first term. And in the second term, they sort of release it out a little bit. And then that final project's like, okay, you have a go now at doing the whole thing. But the specifics of those will come out with the module information, which will all be released like in a pack. So you get a module pack that will have all the details of the brief and everything else.
So as I understood, guys at the beginning will some kind of a taste everything a little bit. They will have some kind of understanding what this brief looks like, how to work with them, and in the end, after both tutors and both student himself will understand his own strong sides, and after that he'll also understands how to make briefs by themselves. After that, they will combine it in the last project will be from their side. Yep.
Yep, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah. I'm just going to have to plug in because I'm low on my laptop battery. Sorry, I'll disappear under the desk for a minute.
Окей. Ребят, имеются ли у вас еще какие-либо вопросы?
Okay, I mean, right.
So, Anna, I think we had like a 1+ hour discussion about graphic design. I wanted to thank you for it was a really great discussion. Like I discovered a lot of new things for graphic design from my side also. Thank you for your time, for explaining to us, to answering all our questions, and thank you. And I think our guy is also satisfied with all answers.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you
No,
very
it's,
much.
I think it's, I mean, what I would say to finish off is that I'm over here in the UK in DMU in a very, I've been here for a long time. I'm looking at the course in Kazakhstan, and certainly with the 2 lecturers who are in place, very young, very exciting. And I think the course is going to be great. It's superbly equipped. It's got a great administration around it. So anybody who's thinking of going on that course, I think it's a really good bet. I think it's going to be really exciting, and you are at the cutting edge. You're going to be at the cutting edge of graphic design in Kazakhstan, because it's going to be this first big generation going through. I think it's really exciting, and it's the idea you've got 4 years. It's not just 1 year IYZ. It's like 4 years. You're going to build like a new thing, which I think is great for. It's going to be great for Kazakh design, actually Kazakhstan design. So brilliant.
Yeah, it's sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Anna, thank you for your
Yeah.
kind words, for your wishes, and for what I think everything that you said will be true, and our guys who are right now watching this in 4 years when they will graduate, and I hope they will see you in Leicester itself if they will go there, and they'll say we'll thank you for that you was the one who explained them everything in the beginning.
Yeah, and to Kira, I think it's a great idea. I'm already thinking of student exchanges. So students come here and ask students to come over there to work on projects together. I think it's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you, Anna, one more time. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
So I know right now it's like only afternoon time here in UK.
Yeah, I know, and we're early morning. Good, and have a good picnic.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Anna. Thank you, dear viewers. Have a nice day to everyone. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye then.